Miami always looked like a postcard paradise, golden light, endless beaches, and the illusion of a life where dreams came true. But behind the polished glass towers and designer boutiques, the city carried stories of ambition that pushed people far beyond their limits. This story begins on one of those warm evenings when the sky glowed quietly over the coastline. A moment where nothing seemed wrong, yet everything was quietly falling into place. Hidden within the glamour was a woman whose chase for wealth would soon collide with a man who had never learned to doubt anyone. Their worlds were separated by continents, yet bound by the same human weakness, desire. And neither of them realized that the decisions they made in these perfect, peaceful moments would lead to a scandal crossing oceans and costing millions. She was known around Brickell as someone who never blended into the background. A woman who moved with purpose, confidence, and a charm that disarmed even the most guarded of personalities. Her name, at least the one she used, carried no history, no roots, no traceable past. She reinvented herself with every new opportunity, every new man, and every new promise that glittered enough to hold her attention. To some, she looked like another socialite chasing luxury. But to her, Miami was a hunting ground where fortunes were built from appearances and bold decisions. She believed beauty was currency, and she had learned how to invest it with precision. What she didn't know was that her next target wasn't just wealthy, he was powerful, connected, and far more observant than she ever expected. Across the world, Dubai glowed with a different kind of opulence, structured, controlled, and crafted from unimaginable wealth. And sitting at the top of this world was a man raised around luxury, responsibility, and a name that opened doors in multiple countries. He was a quiet figure in public, but among the elite, he was known for generosity that often bordered on vulnerability. His life existed in penthouse meetings, private jets, and decisions involving millions. Yet despite all of it, he longed for something simple, a connection untouched by money. When he stumbled across her online presence, he saw confidence, beauty, and a sense of independence he admired. He didn't know she saw him too, not as a man searching for companionship, but as an opportunity worth more than anything she had ever imagined. It started with a simple search, something she did often when scanning for her next stepping stone. Luxury hashtags, international business circles, private jet accounts, and then his profile appeared. Carefully curated, discreet, yet unmistakably wealthy. His posts revealed little, but the spaces he occupied said enough about his influence. She leaned back, memorizing the details she needed, his routine trips, the charities he supported, the friends he followed. Every pattern became a thread she could pull. And as she scrolled deeper, she realized he wasn't the type to flaunt wealth. He was the type to quietly give it away. A trait she considered rare, and profitable. That evening, she drafted her first message. Innocent, simple, harmless. A beginning he would later describe as fate. But in truth, it was intention, sharp, calculated, and already in motion. Their conversations moved quickly, flowing from polite greetings to late-night confessions about dreams, fears, and imagined futures. She played every word with precision, offering vulnerability when needed and admiration when his guard dropped. To him, it felt real, refreshingly unfiltered, surprisingly human. So when he invited her to meet him in Dubai, he believed he was extending a chance for something meaningful. She, however, saw the invitation for what it truly was, access to a world that could finally match the life she had always pretended to live. As she walked into the private jet arranged for her, she felt no hesitation. No guilt. Only excitement. She wasn't visiting a man, she was entering a vault disguised as romance. And she intended to leave with more than memories. The deeper she sank into the world she had created, the easier the lies came. In that Miami penthouse, where the air always smelled faintly of sea breeze and expensive perfume, she convinced herself that everything was under control. But the scattered documents and the untouched passport on the table told a different story. Each luxury bag, each receipt, each unauthorized transaction quietly added to the invisible thread pulling her closer to exposure. She believed she had played the game well, that the Sheikh's trust was unshakable, and that her carefully crafted charm was enough to blind anyone. But beneath the soft evening glow, a fragile truth lingered. Crimes committed in silence rarely stay silent for long. And while she savored the thrill, the first cracks in her empire had already begun, long before she realized she was being watched. Thousands of miles away in Dubai, a very different scene unfolded. The Sheikh stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, staring into the glittering skyline with a calmness that hid a rising suspicion. For years, he had built his empire with precision, discipline, and an almost surgical focus on details. But in the last few weeks, his accounts showed irregularities, withdrawals he didn't authorize, investments he didn't approve, and movements of money he couldn't trace. At first, he blamed internal staff or miscommunication. But the pattern was too sharp, too deliberate. Someone he trusted was moving pieces behind his back. The city below sparkled with wealth, but wealth had a way of attracting shadows. And tonight, the Sheikh felt one of those shadows creeping dangerously close. She wasn't planning to stay in one place for too long. That suitcase, carefully packed, perfectly placed, was more than luggage, it was an escape plan disguised as normal travel. She had spent weeks rehearsing every detail, when to leave, who to avoid, which cameras to walk around, and which lies to repeat with confidence. Miami had been a playground, but it was also becoming a trap. The transfers had grown too bold, the money too large, and the digital footprints too obvious. She thought disappearing early would keep her ahead of suspicion. But real investigators don't chase footsteps, they chase patterns. And her pattern was already forming a trail. That empty hallway, quiet and still, didn't represent freedom. It was the last breath before the walls began to close in. The first alert didn't come from a person, it came from an algorithm. A tiny red notification on a bank dashboard flagged an unusual withdrawal sequence, high amounts, short intervals, and transactions routed through small offshore accounts. It wasn't the kind of activity that slipped by unnoticed for long. When financial analysts began reviewing the pattern, one name kept reappearing in the authorization chain, and it didn't belong there. A simple check turned into a deeper audit, and a deeper audit uncovered something no one had expected, a sophisticated manipulation buried beneath glamorous distractions. While she sipped champagne in Miami, quiet professionals in Dubai were assembling the first pieces of her downfall. She didn't know it yet, but the screen glowing in that dark room had already sealed her fate. 2 cities, 2 lives, 2 stories running on borrowed time. Miami's neon nights mirrored Dubai's golden skyline, yet both held the same underlying truth: deception thrives only until the moment someone connects the dots. As investigators reviewed the transactions, the invisible link between the Sheikh and the woman grew clearer. Their worlds had once met in charm and opportunity, but now they were converging in suspicion and betrayal. The distance between them no longer mattered, digital footprints were far more revealing than physical presence. And as the timeline unfolded, one realization became impossible to ignore: she wasn't as invisible as she believed. The silence between the 2 cities was tightening, preparing for the moment when truth would break through the glamour and expose everything she had tried to hide. Late at night, the quiet hum of the bank masked the chaos that had quietly begun. Stacks of documents, spreadsheets glowing on screens, and endless lines of numbers told a story invisible to the untrained eye. Every transaction she orchestrated was a thread in a web of deception, moving millions without raising alarm, until patterns started to emerge. Analysts began connecting dots that even she thought were invisible. Each wire transfer, each account adjustment, added another brushstroke to the portrait of her audacity. While she reveled in luxury and indulgence across Miami, professionals in this quiet office pieced together the truth. The glamorous life she flaunted could not hide the meticulous trail she left behind. The night carried a subtle warning: nothing stays hidden forever. Diamonds glimmered, watches reflected sunlight, and luxury lay scattered as if it had always belonged to her. But each piece was more than ornamentation, it was evidence of manipulation. Every extravagant gift had a purpose, every sparkle a calculation. To the untrained eye, it was generosity, romance, or indulgence. To the investigators slowly tracing her steps, it was a map, an undeniable sign of wealth extracted through deception. As receipts were catalogued and gifts logged, the meticulous planning behind each acquisition became clear. What she considered clever artistry in her scheme was quietly revealing itself in the light. The beauty of luxury could not mask its meaning. The tables, once a symbol of elegance, now spoke volumes. The crime was precise, deliberate, and closer to exposure than she imagined. The jet stood ready for departure, serene and quiet, yet charged with unspoken intentions. Each trip she took was a calculated step in a game only she understood. Seating herself with practiced grace, she reviewed mental notes, timelines, meetings, and financial gains. The journey appeared luxurious and innocent, a narrative she presented to everyone watching. Yet in truth, it was a carefully choreographed maneuver designed to maintain distance, control perception, and secure opportunity. Even the untouched champagne glass hinted at restraint, a patience that masked urgency. Every flight, every city, every moment in transit was a part of her strategy. While the world saw elegance, investigators would later see footprints, timestamps, tickets, and routes revealing a woman pursuing ambition under the guise of leisure. The sky, like her intentions, concealed as much as it revealed. Not all evidence was polished or grand. In the shadows of Miami, forgotten scraps whispered secrets of intent and movement. Receipts, discarded notes, and scattered documents, illuminated by the reflections of neon signs, revealed a pattern of deception hidden behind glamour. Every transaction, every hurried note, every small oversight began to accumulate into a narrative investigators could trace. What she assumed would disappear in the night became a chain connecting her actions to the crime. Luxury and beauty might mask ambition in the sunlight, but in the alleyways, truth had its own quiet way of surfacing. The darkness didn't hide her missteps, it highlighted them. In these overlooked spaces, the meticulous unraveling of her plans quietly began. And she remained unaware, even small traces could ignite the end of her carefully constructed facade. Security cameras, silent and unblinking, documented the movement she thought was invisible. Frames of entrances, exits, and shadowed corridors captured more than presence, they captured intent. Patterns emerged, arrivals coincided with significant financial transfers, departures followed strategic communications. Each recorded movement, once overlooked, became a critical piece of the puzzle. Observers pieced together her choreography, linking her elegance and precision to actions designed to deceive. What she saw as freedom and control became evidence, each subtle gesture noted, each step analyzed. The silent witnesses, those lenses perched high and hidden, didn't judge or comment, yet they told the story she hoped would remain untold. In the unblinking gaze of technology, a trail of ambition, greed, and deception slowly came to light, ready to reveal the truth beneath the luxury she flaunted. Justice began its measured work behind these glass walls, far removed from yachts and designer boutiques. Filing papers, arranging evidence, and cross-referencing financial trails, the legal machinery started dissecting the intricate scheme. Every document presented, every subpoena issued, slowly illuminated a truth she had hidden beneath charm and elegance. The courtroom, austere and solemn, became a theater for accountability. Testimonies would peel away layers of deception, presenting each calculated step, each manipulated trust. Here, wealth and beauty could not shield her. Each item, each ledger, and each witness contributed to the picture of her audacity. In this space, the glamorous illusions of Miami collided with the meticulous rigor of law. The story was no longer one of charm, it was a demonstration that calculated deceit carries inevitable consequences. The accountant's desk, cluttered yet purposeful, told a story of relentless pursuit. Highlighted figures, cross-referenced statements, and meticulous notes began revealing discrepancies she had assumed invisible. Each minor transfer, each offshore account, each anomalous entry added weight to the case against her. While she celebrated luxury and indulgence, professionals dissected every digital and paper footprint she had left behind. Patterns emerged where she thought chaos existed. Her carefully maintained narrative unraveled in the quiet, methodical hours spent poring over numbers. Each highlighted line, each noted inconsistency, transformed suspicion into proof. It was here, among coffee stains and spreadsheets, that the truth began asserting itself. The precision she applied to her schemes was mirrored by the diligence of those who would ensure her actions did not remain hidden. Rain blurred the city, reflections dancing on the wet streets as if mocking her illusion of control. Each hurried step beneath the umbrella mirrored her attempts to stay ahead of scrutiny, to maintain the narrative she had spun. Miami's neon glow contrasted with the shadows of suspicion forming quietly behind the scenes. Phone pings, credit card swipes, and witness observations began creating a digital footprint she hadn't anticipated. While she felt movement and freedom in every stride, the city itself became a silent witness, capturing the rhythm of deception in real time. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil she could not yet see, a collision of ambition and accountability drawing closer. Even under rain-soaked neon lights, truth was gathering, poised to break through the facade she had so carefully maintained. The courtroom was tense, charged with anticipation as every detail of her actions came under scrutiny. Testimonies dissected luxurious purchases, secret meetings, and deliberate manipulations. The accused maintained composure, yet subtle gestures betrayed awareness of the inevitable. Each document, ledger, and photograph layered onto the narrative of premeditation, leaving little room for doubt. Charm and beauty, once her shields, now stood powerless against the weight of evidence. Observers in the gallery watched as layers of deception were peeled away, revealing an audacious plot executed with precision. The story that had dazzled Miami with glamour now faced the rigor of law. In the quiet gravity of the courtroom, every misstep, every decision, and every calculated action converged to tell the story of ambition, manipulation, and inevitable justice. Luxury, once a tool of seduction, became evidence of wrongdoing. Each diamond, each carefully written note, carried weight far beyond its material value. The items, meticulously catalogued, revealed patterns of manipulation she had counted on remaining hidden. What she had flaunted as charm now served as proof of calculated deceit. Investigators reconstructed events from these artifacts, mapping the flow of wealth, influence, and trust she had systematically exploited. In her mind, elegance was a mask; in the hands of justice, it became testimony. Every glint, every stroke of ink, told the story of greed, ambition, and betrayal. The physical remnants of her plan became irrefutable proof; beauty and luxury could not obscure culpability. The evidence spoke where words and actions had failed to. The silence of the penthouse shattered under flashing lights and authoritative footsteps. Officers moved methodically, each room revealing traces of a life built on deception and charm. Luxury handbags, sparkling jewelry, and high-end electronics stood as silent witnesses to a crime meticulously orchestrated. She had believed the city's glamour would protect her, that distance and audacity could outsmart scrutiny. But in that moment, the illusion crumbled. Every secret, every wire transfer, and every manipulated trust converged under the weight of accountability. The raid was not just the breaking of a law, it was the shattering of a carefully constructed world where charm and beauty had been weapons. And as she was led out, handcuffed and bewildered, the realization settled in: no empire built on deceit can withstand the patient, methodical reach of justice. Each document, each digital file, became a testament to calculated ambition. Investigators meticulously catalogued bank statements, emails, and contracts, tracing the movement of millions with precision. The spreadsheets she thought no one would notice now painted a portrait of audacity and premeditation. Luxury and indulgence could not mask the systematic manipulation of trust and wealth. Forensic accountants and legal experts pieced together a trail that led from Miami to Dubai, connecting her actions to the Sheikh's losses. Every note, every ledger, and every email revealed not impulsive greed, but a carefully executed plan. What had seemed like effortless charm and glamour now stood exposed as calculated deception. The evidence told a story more vivid and damning than any witness could. Ambition had driven her beyond morality, leaving traces impossible to erase. The courtroom was tense, every eye fixed on the proceedings as the consequences of calculated deceit were pronounced. The judge's voice carried authority, outlining the severity of the financial crimes and the betrayal of trust that stretched across continents. She sat poised, yet subtle shifts in expression revealed the gravity she had long evaded. Testimonies, evidence, and digital trails were now undeniable facts, converging to render charm and beauty powerless. The sentence reflected not just punishment for theft, but a warning that meticulous manipulation, no matter how glamorous, eventually meets accountability. In that moment, Miami's luxury skyline and Dubai's opulent towers seemed distant, irrelevant. The illusion of control she had cultivated dissolved under the scrutiny of law, leaving only the stark reality of consequences meticulously measured and imposed. The story, once whispered among elites, became a global cautionary tale. Media outlets chronicled the audacious scheme, replaying images of luxury, deception, and the unraveling of a plan that had spanned continents. Headlines screamed scandal, yet beneath the spectacle lay a deeper narrative. Greed and ambition, when untethered from morality, carry consequences inevitable and absolute. Public fascination mingled with moral reflection as audiences dissected each move, each miscalculation, and each betrayal. What had seemed like a glamorous triumph ended as a lesson in hubris. The woman who once navigated Miami and Dubai with effortless elegance now faced the scrutiny of the world. And the story served as a stark reminder: charm and beauty may open doors, but deceit and betrayal never escape the long arm of accountability. As the sun set over the tranquil waters of Miami, the city's glamour returned to quiet normalcy, indifferent to scandal and human folly. The waves lapped gently against the shore, erasing footprints, yet the lessons remained. Greed, ambition, and the pursuit of wealth at the expense of trust left indelible marks on those involved. The Sheikh regained peace and security, while she faced the consequences of choices made in pursuit of transient gain. For observers, the story became more than headlines. It was a reflection on the human condition, the allure of charm, and the inevitable reckoning that follows betrayal. Beauty, wealth, and sophistication may dazzle, but morality endures. And as the final rays touched the boardwalk, a silent truth lingered: every action, no matter how hidden, casts a shadow that eventually finds the light.